Faithful. ATL.GA Faithful. ATL.GA Faithful, my people. I'm the Douglas Carter, back on the scene doing my thing, and I just want to say I appreciate you and the work that you do. Real quick, pre-workouts at the Combine, I just want to go over some of the main players that is on my radar, and how their press conference / interview went the other day. I caught a couple, and there's some pretty interesting takes. First, let's go ahead and start off with Mike Green. There has been some discussion on why, he left Virginia, and in Mike Green's press conference, he touched on it. And I will say, in this country, everybody is innocent until proven guilty, and I do not know the full story. I'm just going to touch on what I heard and then what I think. Mike Green, he seems like a really good person. He seems like a good man, a good young man, and a very talented prospect. He has two, and this is the concerning part, it's two accusations or allegations for sexual assault. One when he was in high school, and one when he was at Virginia. Now, that's why he left Virginia, but he said nothing ever came of it. He knows the truth, and there's nothing to it, and the accusations or allegations are not true. So, would the Atlanta Falcons take a risk on someone who has two allegations like that? I'm not sure. He'd have to probably explain the scenario a little bit more in depth, and if there is nothing to it, because sometimes either the man could be at fault, and there's a thin line that we all should know. When you're young, sometimes that line gets blurred, and people learn from mistakes and change. Now, the fact that he has two tells me that is cause for concern, but then also there's another side. Sometimes women or young women, they try to do something for attention, or they try to get some kind of compensation from these things, and it really is not what it appears to be. I don't know the full situation, and I don't know who's innocent or who's guilty or what lines were crossed or what exactly happened, but that is a little concerning. We know the Atlanta Falcons do not usually like to take anybody who has any off-the-field issues. Hopefully that's all cleared up. Mike Green is good to go, and there's really nothing to it. That would be best case scenario for him and the NFL and everybody involved. But that was what I took from his interview. So some concerns on the off the field with Mike Green, but he seems like a good person, and he seems like a good player on the outside looking in. But you just never know sometimes. Next prospect I want to touch on, Walter Nolan, a defensive lineman out of Ole Miss. I watched his interview, and he was another player that was kind of flagged for some off the field or behavior issues. I didn't hear anything per se on any specific incident. I think it's more about maturity, and watching his interview, I think he's just a dog. Like, he's a athlete. He talked about violence a lot, and he just wants to go attack. Now, it seems like he might have some maturity still left to develop, but when you're that age, that is expected. So if he got with the right mentors, I think he'd be fine, and I think he has the right attitude towards the game. So that's Walter Nolan. He's just a little rough around the edges, and I think he probably rubs some people the wrong way. Moving on to James Pierce from Tennessee. He was also flagged for some character concerns, and he came out and just said he loves the game. He wants to play the game. There was maybe some questions about his love for the game. He said he wants to be a Hall of Famer, I believe, which most inspiring athletes do. He seems like a pretty good person, a pretty good prospect, but just from like first glance, it might be, he's just still got some growing, maturing to do as well. and is not really sure sometimes of what the right response is. He kind of seemed a little worried about how his perception is being viewed, but he does want to clear up that he thinks he is the best edge rusher in this class. And so he's interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about James Pierce. Michael Williams, moving on to him. He was very straightforward in his press conference. Come to find out, he was battling injuries all year and just played through them. He says he's healthy now and he's ready to go. After his interview, I like Michael Williams a lot more than I did initially. And this is just first perspective. So I think he would be a good fit, and I think he's going to do good at the next level. We know Kirby Smart got these UGA dogs on the right program to make big plays and, you know, be playmakers at the NFL level. Then we'll move on to Smell Munden Jr., a linebacker from UGA that I really liked a lot. He seemed fine with his character. He's battled back from injuries. He seems like he's hungry and wants to play. But as far as the Atlanta Falcons go, they asked him, you know, what if you got selected to the Atlanta Falcons? And he just said that would be crazy. So I don't really know how to take that, you know. I don't know if he really wants to stay in state. You know, some of these guys, they spend their whole life in a certain place, and when they make it to the NFL, they probably might want a change of scenery or to kind of get away maybe from some people or problems that they've had and just kind of start fresh. That could be one reason why the Atlanta Falcons don't take so many players from UGA, because maybe there's some kind of discrepancy. They don't really want to stay hometown. But I was really high on Smell Munden Jr., and I think he's going to do really good on the combine testing, and I was wanting to get him to the Atlanta Falcons if he could get him after the third round, because he's fast and we need somebody to chase down these fast quarterbacks the NFL has. So I'm not sure if he wants to be an Atlanta Falcon, so that kind of raised the eyebrow with him. Another interview I caught was Shamar Stewart from Texas A&M. Some people had him out to Atlanta, and watching his interview, he said, you know, he seemed like a team player. He said his lack of production in the sack department is because he's a team player, and, you know, a lot of the work he's doing isn't necessarily translating on the stat sheet, but he's filling gaps, he's setting edges, he's putting in work, he's meeting backs in the hole, and he seems like a good character guy, and we know he has like all the measurables, but after hearing him talk, it seems like he could be a good fit wherever he goes. And I also think he said he had aspirations of just, you know, continuing to work on his game and one day be a Hall of Famer. So that's the extent. Well, that's some of the key players that I caught some of their pre-combine interview media day. So yeah, I just wanted to touch on those, kind of give you all my thoughts on some of these bigger name prospects and see what you think. Go ahead and drop a comment. Tell me what you think. Tell me if we should draft any one of these players or if anything's giving you pause for concern. And in this video, like I end all my videos, thank God works. And I hope you have a blessed rest of your day or night. One.